did everything right. You followed the map, you played the game, and you won. But here you are, lying awake at night, surrounded by success, haunted by a silence you can't explain. They told you what to chase: degrees, promotions, admiration. So you chased them. You built the life they promised would make you whole. Now you sit in the throne you fought for. But your soul feels absent. You stare at the ceiling, and a quiet voice asks, "What if this isn't your kingdom?" You feel it, don't you? That hollow ache beneath the noise, that question you keep burying under distractions. What if you mastered the wrong game? What if every step you took, every sacrifice you made, was pushing you further from yourself? You won, but something inside you lost. You have the medals, but where is your peace? You have the status, but where is your fire? First say to yourself what you would be, Epictetus said, and then do what you have to do. This isn't about motivation. This is about remembering. You didn't choose the game. You were born into it. Before you could speak, they were already teaching you the rules. Be a good boy, sit still, get the gold star, don't cry, win. And you learned quickly, because love seemed to depend on it. Approval became your compass, so you obeyed. You got the grades, you followed the schedule, you raised your hand at the right times. You became everything they said you should be, but no one ever asked you who you were. And worse, you stopped asking yourself. You entered the arena early. School became your first battlefield. Compete, memorize, obey, be better than the boy next to you. And if you fail, feel shame, not curiosity, not reflection. Shame. They taught you to measure your worth in numbers, scores, ranks, salaries. The system had no room for stillness, no reward for introspection, only progress, only motion. You were conditioned to run, even when you didn't know why, and the older you got, the faster the treadmill moved. Get into a good college, then a good job, then a promotion, then a better title, then a bigger house. The milestones were always ahead, and just when you reached one, another would appear. Further, higher, louder. You never stopped to ask, who built this board I'm playing on? Because everyone else was playing too. And they looked happy on the outside, just like you. But deep down, there was a question you kept burying. Is this really mine? The hardest prisons to escape are the ones you don't realize you're in. You may have thought you were free, but freedom without direction is just another kind of cage. You obeyed rules that were never explained, chased rewards that were never your own, lived by values handed to you by people who never knew your soul. And now, years later, you look at your reflection and see a man who succeeded, but can't remember why he started. You don't hate your life, but it doesn't feel like yours. Epictetus said, "Only the educated are free," but he didn't mean degrees. He meant awareness, clarity, discernment, and that kind of education was never on the curriculum. It's time to question the rules, not with anger, but with courage, because the real game only begins when you stop playing theirs. Success became your armor, but now it feels like a coffin. What once gave you strength now weighs you down. The routine, the status, the comfort, they were supposed to free you, but they've become the bars of a golden prison. Everything looks good on paper, but your soul doesn't live on paper. You wake up in a home you built, drive a car you once dreamed of, work a job that pays well, that others envy. But inside, you feel the quiet erosion of meaning. It didn't happen all at once. It was slow, subtle, like water dripping on stone. You started saying yes to things that didn't feel right, started staying quiet when something in you screamed. You stopped asking questions because the answers might cost too much. Little by little, you made peace with the cage, because it had velvet cushions, because it came with applause. But now you see the truth behind the shine. Luxury doesn't mean liberation, and achievement doesn't mean alignment. The walls are soft, but they're still walls. You've built a life that looks good from the outside, but something inside you whispers, this isn't freedom. And you know it, because real freedom is not the ability to buy what you want. It's the ability to walk away from what you don't need. And you're not sure you can do that anymore. You've become too entangled in expectations, in performance, in the identity you wear like a suit of armor. Take it off. And who are you? You're afraid to lose it. But you're more afraid to admit that keeping it has already cost you something greater. Time, stillness, truth. They told you success would give you those things, but it only gave you more noise, more pressure, more disconnection from yourself. Wealth consists not in having great possessions, Epictetus said, but in having few wants. And you want everything, because you don't know what you actually need. The cage is beautiful, but it is still a cage. And every day you stay inside, you teach your soul to shrink. It's time to remember, what looks like success can be the most seductive form of slavery. To win the game, you had to kill parts of yourself, not with knives, but with silence, with shame, with discipline twisted into denial. You buried your softness, your creativity, your uncertainty, because the game didn't reward those things. You armored up. You became sharp, efficient, productive. You became what the world respected, but not what your soul needed. There was a cost, and it wasn't just time or energy. The cost was you. You amputated the parts of you that didn't fit the mold, the boy who used to wonder, the man who wanted to feel deeply, the voice that said, slow down, all silenced. You told yourself, it was necessary, that this is what it takes to be strong, to be respected, to survive. But strength without self is just another form of collapse. And now, in the quiet moments, you hear echoes from the depths, a knocking from behind the walls, the return of the forgotten parts, your shadow. Carl Jung called it the shadow self. Everything you repressed, denied, discarded, not because it was evil, but because it was inconvenient, uncomfortable, unprofitable. But it never left. It waits in the silence between tasks, in the hollowness after your victories, in the questions you avoid late at night. It waits for you to turn inward and finally look. The anger you suppressed, the tears you swallowed, the dreams you shelved, the fears you mocked, the compassion you buried, they were never weak. They were wounded, and they still remember your name, but you kept running. Not from failure, but from yourself. You became so good at winning that you forgot how to feel. You learned how to conquer, but not how to connect. And now, the parts you rejected have turned into ghosts. They haunt your success. They drain the joy from your accomplishments, because they are the proof that your victories came at too high a price. You don't need another trophy. You need a funeral, a sacred moment to mourn what you left behind, because you cannot be whole if you refuse to acknowledge what you sacrificed to survive. No man is free, wrote Epictetus, who is not master of himself. And to master yourself, you must first face what you've been running from, the pain, the shame, the truth. You have to go into the cave. You have to sit with the shadow, not to destroy it, but to listen. Because sometimes what we call darkness is just the part of us that's still waiting to be heard. There is another game, older, quieter, hidden beneath the noise of ambition. You've felt glimpses of it, in moments when time slows, when no one is watching, when something deep within whispers, "There's more than this." It's not the game they taught you. There are no medals, no applause, no finish line. This board doesn't reward performance. It demands presence. You don't play it with your resume. You play it with your soul. The game of inner clarity, of stillness, of remembering. What matters when everything else is stripped away? But to play it, you must step off the other board. The one that taught you to chase, to compare, to prove, because you can't play both. One calls you outward, the other inward, and most never find the second board, because it's quiet. It doesn't shout. It waits. It lives in small rituals. Waking up before the world, walking without a destination, sitting in silence long enough to hear your own heartbeat again. This is the board where virtues matter more than victories, where discipline isn't a tool for success, but a path to integrity, where honesty becomes your compass and purpose your direction. But here's the truth. This board isn't glamorous. You won't be praised for stepping onto it. You might be misunderstood. You might be alone, but you will be free. You'll no longer chase the next thing because you'll know what you're really after. You'll stop negotiating your values for likes, deals, or approval, because you'll remember that a clear conscience is more valuable than a crowded schedule. This is the board where the man you were dies and the man you are begins. It's not easy, but it's real. First say to yourself what you would be, said Epictetus, and then do what you have to do. Most people reverse it. They do and do and do, hoping that identity will follow, but not you, not anymore. You're not here to impress. You're here to align, to burn away the false, to return to what's essential, to remember who you were before the world told you who to be. This board has always been there. You just had to stop running long enough to see it. Now that you do, the only question left is, will you step onto it? You don't need to keep playing. You're allowed to stop, to step back, to burn the board, not in rebellion, but in revelation, because what you call security has become your leash. What you call success is a mask too tight to breathe through. You were never meant to fit into something so small. A spreadsheet can't measure your soul. A title can't hold your truth. A salary can't buy back your silence. It's time to walk away from what's merely working, from what is acceptable, manageable, fine. Comfort is not your calling, and convenience has made you soft. let it go. Let go of the false peace that comes from doing what you've always done. Let go of the approval you no longer need. Let go of the version of you that was built to survive in a world that never cared if you felt alive. This isn't recklessness, this is resurrection. The man you've been is tired, but the man you are becoming, he is forged in silence. He is carved in solitude. He is rising from the ashes of everything that once imprisoned him. You do not need permission to start over. You need courage. Courage to say, this game is not mine. Courage to say, I would rather lose by truth than win by illusion. The world may not understand. Let them stare. Let them whisper, because in the end only you will have to live with the weight of the choices you made in silence. Freedom is the only worthy goal in life, said Epictetus. It is won by disregarding things that lie beyond our control. And right now, the board itself is the illusion, the performance, the trap. To be free, you don't need a better strategy. You need a deeper surrender. The warrior lays down his sword, not in defeat, but in clarity. He no longer fights battles that do not belong to him. You are not here to climb, you are here to become. Burn the board and watch what rises from the ashes. You walk alone now, but not in loneliness, in sovereignty. No more rushing, no more proving, no more chasing someone else's story. You burned the board, and from the smoke, something ancient returned. Not a new version of you, the real one. The man beneath the noise, beneath the applause, beneath the armor. You no longer fit into rooms that required you to shrink. You no longer bow to metrics that ignore your soul. Your silence speaks louder than titles. Your presence weighs more than performance. You're not easily impressed anymore. Because you know the price of pretending. You may have less, but you have peace. You may walk slower, but now every step is yours. And in a world addicted to noise, you've chosen depth over attention, over validation, over illusion. You are now the man who plays his own game. You are not louder. You are deeper, not richer, but fuller, not admired, but free. And that is the only victory that matters. Don't explain your philosophy, Epictetus said. Embody it. So don't just watch this video. Live it. Walk away from the noise. Rebuild your life from the inside out. Not for applause, but for peace. And ask yourself, not once, but every day, am I living my truth or just surviving? Their script? If the question unsettles you, good. That means you're awake. Now begin again, this time on your own board.